Welcome back, everybody. We're getting down to the end of all the fabrication work on. This is just the minor stuff now because we already know everything fits. I mean, how can I say this? No, everything didn't fit, but the lines are all lined up. It's in the position where it's going to be panel bonded. And what we need to do next is finish up mating the quarter completely, which means we have to make this fuel door fit. Now, I usually get one, whenever I criticize these body panels, I usually get one dislike no matter what. No matter what the video is, I'll get one dislike. And I wonder who's doing it. But the thing is to save you, because if you order from these guys, Cool Wheels, now they're another name right now, and the body kits are much more expensive. You better ask them, did you, all the stuff that I've done with this car, go back and just say, hey, did you correct this? Did you correct this? Did you correct the fuel door so I don't have to cut it and move it over a quarter of an inch? So it's just, the whole thing is, this is really, for the price that you pay, you need to get a proper or quality fit to the fuel door. And they're going to say, well, he didn't fit it right. Well, I fit it to the exact portion here. It's all in a straight line. It lines up with the doors all the way down. And this to here is stock. And this should be stock to here. So, what do you think of that? I don't know. Well, let's run over to the computer. Let me show you the Sport Quattro fuel door. And we will get this done. Then I'll drink my coffee and continue doing it. Here's the picture of the Sport Quattro fuel door. Take a look at this. Now, I'm going to put an arrow to the bottom part of that fuel door. Take a look at that. That fuel door flares out into the actual quarter. All right, we're going to have to make that because this is the fuel door we're using. This is from a stock Coupe GT, the donor for the Audi Rally car. We're going to have to flare it out. That's the first thing. Second thing is, take a look at where your finger opens the fuel door. On the Sport Quattro, there's an arrow to it right now. You have to put it, it's basically indented into the chassis of the car. That way there's no outcropping for your finger to go into. So this is one we definitely have to use. If you just have the early 4000 5+5, this is what you have. This right here does not have I don't think it had an indentation for your finger, but it has an outcropping right here for your finger to go in to open up the fuel door. We don't want that. So that's another piece of the puzzle that we do not want, and the reason why we do not want to use the 5+5 fuel door. And the third reason is, which is just, it's not really a big thing because it's easily rectifiable, is that the bolt pattern, this thing bolts onto the Coupe GT using two of these outer, two screws on the outer portion. The 5+5 it's not the same bolt pattern. It's basically different. It's a narrower bolt pattern. I mean, yes, they have an extra hole right here, which pretty much lines up with this one. It's pretty close. That you could easily make this work, but seeing how you have this outcropping like this, and it's just, there's a whole bunch of things you're not going to want to, it just saves you a little bit of time. So just use the Coupe GT fuel door. So let's go over, let's take a look at the quarter, and we'll figure out how we're going to make this all work and what we have to cut. It's that first cut. It's like the most nerve-wracking thing. All right, let's go over there and do it. Here we are at the gas door where this is sitting on the quarter. We have this panel set up exactly for the sight line that we need it set up for. We have it in the position exactly where it lines up with the rear tail lights. We can't move the fender anymore. It's in the exact position. What do we have here? We have here is where the fuel door is supposed to be, but it's off center. So they didn't make it right. Another thing is, you're probably wondering, well, how much is it off? Well, if you sit there, actually, you just go like this, it's about 9 to 10 millimeters too much this way. And if I put it on this line right there, it's about 8 to 9 millimeters this way too much. Now, if you really, some people might grind it down and just, fudge it all in. No, that's not right, especially with all the work you've done to the car. at least make it, at least I'm gonna try to make it right. And the big thing is make sure if, you know, you see this video and you buy them from Cool Wheels, or it's a new name now, but you can tell it's the same pictures. Make sure they say, did you fix the fuel door? You know, because you don't want to go through this. This is terrible. You know, I got to get my mask on and cut fiberglass. Yuck. And then I have to have all of this metal flared out so I can, you know, conform to this. So when you start putting, you know, when you put the fuel nozzle in, all the, you know, it'll hit, you know, because you'll by accident or whatever, and there's a possibility if it's not supported correctly, it's going to crack, you know, and I don't want that. Down the road, once this is done, I want to work on it, you know, and that's the reason why everything on here is being, you know, I'm trying to make everything on here serviceable for like 20 minutes because you're not going to want to work on it, you know. But let me go get my mask on. I'm going to draw out what I'm going to cut, and then we're going to move this over, and we'll start preparing everything right here to flare out the bottom there and to do the fuel door. Well, this is our first major problem. The rest of this is easy. Couple things. They pinned this in here, so I tried a couple of punches. They will not come out, so I'm gonna have to cut it. I'm gonna leave the top one on there for now. This is actually aluminum. I did not know that. I just took a magnet to it, won't do it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut that. I'm gonna try and move this out and just bend this up and cut it. Now I have to make another hinge portion down here. So, well, no better problem than the present. So let me just grab my other cutter and get my safety glasses back on, and I'm gonna cut this out and do it. I thought this was gonna be easy. Well, I went over there and I just welded that. I welded up the door, and let's just say it didn't go too well. I didn't film it. What it was is I got the door, I kind of welded it up like this, and you have to remember, this is a cast piece. This is just not sheet aluminum, this is cast. And I was blowing through on the sides and and I only had the thing like 35 amps. I mean, that's really low. And I just got a puddle and then it would blow through. So I'm going back and forth doing all this. And the only problem with having an aluminum welder is that you use it. It's terrible, you know? So I'm sitting there, I was like, oh man, I got the wrong angle, and I just went like this, now just to see, is it any flexible, and snap. And then, you know what? I'm done with that. I don't want to deal with it. What are we going to do? Well, this is the 5+5. This is not the correct door because it has this right here. But what it does is I can bolt it here, and it's only going to take just slight ridges. It shouldn't even affect a hinge. I should be able to take a slight cut on here and then build out in steel. So it goes like that, and it shouldn't be that bad. The only thing I do is I have to drill another hole right here. That shouldn't be too much of a problem. I mean, yes, it's going to have this where the Sport Quattro didn't, but, you know, you got to live with it, you got to live with it. So I'm going to clean this up. I'm going to start slicing this. I'm going to slice the sides. That way it's going to fit right there, and it's only going to be just maybe like 10 millimeters off. That's it. And then I can build something out to make it look like the Sport Quattro. But all the best laid plans. Let me clean this up and cut it. Then I'll attach it right here, and then we'll take a look and see, you know, exactly where we need to slice it, to slice it. But it looks like, you know, just this very corner right here as it sits. If you sit there and you look at it and you bring up this and just like, you know, just a little bit. All right, let me clean this up. Let me get my garb on and clean it up. And see, this is the pitfalls that I'm trying to prevent you from running into. This is all lined up. This line that comes down here ends up right there. So we got this side. Same thing, this line comes over here and goes up this. So we have the gas door basically there, and the angle's relatively right. I just have to make the little small thing that comes right down here. I'm going to weld it on, and I'm going to weld this just to, you know, a couple tacks to guarantee it doesn't move anywhere. let me grab some metal. I'm going to put that right there, and we will weld that on. This line is straight. This line goes down here, it mates up with the rear of the quarter for the gas door. Same thing here, this is bent out. I'm gonna leave this rough. I'm not gonna finish it until until all these panels are bonded. I get a final fitment of what it is. Then I can grind away everything to make it fit better. But we needed a rough estimate of what was going on right now. Plus, we also have to put a tab right here, right like this, to make it sit out a little bit, because to make this thing flush and to make this thing flush. This thing's already flush, but I have to put a tab out here on the gas door so it stops right there. Other than that, let's move on to the next part, and we can get this thing all set up for panel bonding. See how I just did the fuel door? I have this thing as close as I can. And what it is, you know, I got it right here. It's sucked right in there, but the problem is right down here. This body goes in, and you'd have to have a huge glob of panel bond right there. And I'm not really sure how well it would adhere to that much panel bond. So what I'm going to do is I just grabbed a piece of just junk steel, and you know, it's actually from this car. And what I'm going to do is, you know, conform this to have a plate inside there. So I'll weld it to here. When I put this on permanently, I can take a pot rivet and basically mechanically attach it with the panel bond. I think that'll work much, much better. It'll give it strength either way, forward and back. Instead of just having a big glob of panel bond here it could possibly push out or pull out. Because I'm not really sure of the properties of panel bond, whether or not it needs a really close surface to adhere to. I think it does, but that's just my speculation. So anyway, it's not going to take too long, but I need to clean up all this metal down here. I'm going to put this, conform it to there, and then we're going to figure out whether or not I'm going to make a piece of metal to make this section right there. Instead of this is curved inward, make it flat to join to this. Not sure yet, but let's get on to this. Let me grab the discs, and let's mark it all up and make a receiving plate. Next thing is we got to make a metal transition from here to here. Let's go up and let me show you the picture of the Sport Quattro and how it kind of looks like they did it. Here we are at the picture. Excuse the pixelations, but I had to really zoom in to show you what's going on. Take a look at this. This is the parting line. I put an arrow to it where the quarter meets the chassis. Now, what we are looking at is kind of right where our quarter meets the chassis. That's kind of where it is. But if you see on like the coupe, in the middle, right underneath the tail light, like right in the middle, is where the brake is for them. Now, this one, well, the Sport Quattro, it doesn't have it. So we're just going to make a nice, easy transition from the Sport Quattro quarter to the actual Coupe GT chassis. I don't know how long we're going to make it. We're just going to make it look, we're just going to put it there. We just want the transition to go from, straight here, put an arrow, to right here, curved, where it meets up the trunk lid. That's kind of what we want to do. So we want to lessen that harshness in transition without using a ton of Bondo. Let me go make a small plate, and then we can get over to the other side and fix the rust over there, get the transition done there, and we can just take a quick look around and see what else we need to do for the body work and finish that up. What do you think? There's now the transition line that we had from the other one. Push this right in right there. That's what it will be. We have pretty much a nice shallow, how can I put this, transition from this quarter to here, and we got rid of the partition line there. So we don't have to use any Bondo. What I'm going to do is I'm going to weld it right here, weld underneath here, grind this down, and then weld this to the top. That way, when we grind it all down, the transition will be pretty decent. So let me go grab the welder, and we will get this thing all put up. Here's the plate, smooth. Just have to grind down the excess weld. It's too hot to put this back in, but then we're going to put this back in. We're going to start cleaning up the rest of the fenders and trying to figure out exactly what we're going to do with the rest of this side then before we move to the other side. Because there's a couple things I want to show you that I kind of screwed up on initially, and I'm going to rectify that. Let me show you that. Now we're on this side. What I want to do is exactly what I did here. Remember I put little tabs inside here to make it stiff? And I was going to fill this whole thing in with panel bond. I don't think filling this in with panel bond will work because I don't think it'll get consistent matchup to the metal. So what am I going to do? I'm going to fill this thing in with the same tabs I did in here. I'm just going to put little pieces in here and weld it all along here to give me the looks like this thing's squared away. When you sit there and push in on the quarter, adding that piece of metal under here makes it feel almost like steel. So, you know, I'm glad I redid what I did. So let's go over to the other side and let's finish up that side also. That way we can finish up the episode. Geez, that's pretty cool. All right, let's go to the other side. Flat right here. I have to drill the holes, but let me first grab the grinder and let me clean up this so we can put the quarter back on. All right, let's stick the quarter on. Now we can build these other plates right down here that accept into the quarter. Not going to fit the tail light yet because I got to get a much smaller tool to grind out all this excess weld. But I think we got that fairly well. Let's just do that, and so we can finish up this last part. Now I'm at the position where I got to make this plate right here, and the thing is, I kept fiddling around with this, wondering what is going on because it was getting so hard to fit, and just like this one actually looks better than the one over there, and I drilled out and tapped in a little bit down here, going, what's going on? Well, this section right here to where the curve is how can I put this? This is shorter than over here. So over here. This is the distance right here for that, and it's a good 3 to 4 mil shallower on this side than it is on that side. So, what are we going to do? Well, I'm still going to make the plate so it shows the parting line right there, and then cover up this parting line. And I'm just going to make a plate that goes down inside here to seal this when it's actually, you know, into the plate right there. So this will all be covered up. So we less plate work, but remember, when you get into these things, the inconsistency is pretty rapid, you know. I mean, I thought originally that this side was probably pushed in or from an accident or something like that, but when I measured this section, this vertical section to where it actually where it turns, there's your 4 millimeters, and that's why it's such a pain in the butt to make this thing fit. So just to let you know, when I do it, I mean, I'm going to do this and put this on there, get the thing basically set up to where I got a panel bond and everything's going to be mated to this. I might have to pull this out a little bit or add a plate right there because this thing is actually definitely off. But because you look down the side and it's absolutely straight and this thing just curves up a little bit. But that's beside the point. Let me build this plate and we will call it good. I think the mounts for this in the back and the tie-in is done. Let's finish up the episode. Well, and yeah, let's get this done. All right, I did my quick look around on making sure all four quarters, if you want to call it, you know, the front fenders and the rear quarters are pretty much ready to panel bond. And that's kind of what the whole deal is. You know, so before I do my conclusion on the episode to show you, you know, all this stuff, that take a look at this. Remember, this was the fender that was the worst. It was indented, geez, you know, at least a ½ inch. It was huge. It was so far off. And I cut out or hogged out this line right here, and you can still see I burned through right there, and I folded down, and it met this door really, really nice. I still have to build up a little bit here, but, you know, I can deal with that. But the problem is making this one fit so good. Let's take a look at the other side. You know what's coming. Take a look at this side. We are now, geez, at least 5 mil inset. Before, that other side fender was so bad that this one looked good. Now that I took a look around where I'm sitting there going, well, I have to actually build something that actually looks correct. Seeing how I made that, even though that side was so bad, I made it look so good, I gotta make this one better, because this is the worst side now. So that makes, you know, how can I put this? All 4 different body panels are odd. And I know I'm gonna get my one dislike, because every time I do a bad thing on a body panel, on body fitment, I get one dislike. I wonder who that's from. But beside the point, let me take this thing off. There's only 3 bolts. I'm going to cut the inset, bring it down, and match this door. And once I match the door, we're going to end the episode, because that means every single body panel is adjusted to be panel bonded. And I'll go through the final thing later in just a bit. But let me first do that. Let's pull this off, and I will get my mask back on and hog this out and make it work. Yuck. All right, check it out. We have it now matching pretty much. It's within a mil. I mean, we can't replicate this curve right here onto the fender, but you're gonna have to, do it figure out if you want to do anything like there. But what we do have is we have the gap here and down here. Everything looks pretty much spot on, and it's pretty much ready to get bonded to the inner sill here. Pretty happy with that. Let's end up the episode, and funny thing is, I burned through here, exact same place on the other side. Alright, might be just a thin spot, but at least I'm consistent. Other than that, we're done. Oh, alright. What did I do? We're going to go through this here. When you start putting these things on there, I mean, this is done to the point where I'm not going to do any more modifications of the bodywork to make it fit. You know what I went through to put this body kit on. I had to modify both front fenders on the internal and bend them down in order to make them fit the actual, or get them even relatively close. This quarter, I had to move the gas door back in order to fit the stock location. Plus, I built out the gas door. Yeah, it's there. It can be redone. I built a framework right here, so when the quarters are on it, they basically overlap. And what happens is when you put the panel, you can use a lot of panel bond. They overlap. It's much. I'm trying to build as much strength in it as possible. When I do panel bond, I'm going to panel bond this right here and the inside wheel well. That way, when this is all panel bond, I can do I'm not going to do the bottom pans right there, and I'm not going to do the rocker. And on the front, I'm only going to do the back and the top. That way, when I have everything down and the thing's flipped over, I know these lines right here will not move. That's a big thing. And when I know that will move, then I can start building and sealing up everything underneath the chassis when it's on the rotisserie. That really, to me, that is a big thing, and I can get everything squared away. But it's pretty much, this is done for modifying any panel, and this is all in the absolute final position where it's going to be. No other modifications will be done. Pretty big. I mean, three body panels have to be majorly modified, but that's what you're going to get into. Other than that, remember, you guys can do this. I'm just a hillbilly sitting here in New Hampshire, trying to work this out and trying to find the best way to do it and the strongest way to do it. Will it actually work? Time will only tell. I'm trying to do this one shot only. Next time, I'm going to be doing the electrical system, and then I'll be calling it quits for this car until summer hits, where the panel bond will have enough temperature for it to cure properly. Because I'm not putting all this work into it and not having the panel bond cure properly. That would stink. So, thank you very much for showing up. I'm just a hillbilly here in New Hampshire trying to make something work. It's whether or not it does, we're going to find out. Time will tell. But, it's not bad for a $5,000 shitbox kit car. I think it looks pretty cool. So, all right, well, thank you very much for showing up. I really appreciate it. And I hope you have a great day. All right, bye now.